Hi, good afternoon. We're back in our bread and pastry. So, what we have now is bread. Okay. Our first demonstration is actually how to make pandesal. Okay. Again, there are different kinds of yeast. We have actually instant yeast, dry yeast. We also have um, yeast that is in granules. Okay, so the instant yeast, it's easier to mix and it's easier for us to rise our dough. Okay, I have now my milk, half which is hot and half which is cold, to make a lukewarm mixture. So this is already half hot, half cold to make it lukewarm. Okay, I am now placing my yeast in my lukewarm milk. The secret here is you have to add little sugar in your yeast. See, it's very fast. The sugar is actually the food of your yeast. It is now creating the bubbles, but we have to settle this for at least 10 minutes. So we have to wait. I got that sugar from that measurement that we have later, okay, which we will be using also. So we have sugar, we have our eggs, we have our salt, and we have actually our flour. Our flour, we have different kinds of flour. We have APF, all-purpose flour, which you can actually see from the grocery. But our bread flour, if you go to the grocery, you will not see a bread flour. What you will see is angel white flour or 3A's. 3A, that's AAA, that is also bread flour. Okay, please always ask from the grocery what are the different kinds of flour. So you have bread flour, wheat flour, you also have all-purpose flour, you have cake flour, you have cassava flour, you also have cornstarch, of course, and there are different kinds of flour now like almond flour. So, for our bread, what we are using is our bread flour. Okay, so this is the kind of flour we are using. So, if you go to the grocery, please always ask them because sometimes the label is different. So, we are using now bread flour. What if there is no bread flour? So, I will be giving you later what could be a substitute for our bread flour. Okay, all we have to do is simply make a volcano, maybe a hole in the middle of your, this is already our sifted flour. Okay, so all you have to do is to place your salt. We will place our sugar. Okay, and we are now placing our 2 eggs. Okay, so this is our eggs. Okay. This is now our yeast after 10 minutes. Please be patient enough to wait until it creates the bubbles. If there is no bubbles, which means your yeast is a dead yeast. So you have to do it again. So this one is just enough. So you have to be patient enough to wait after 10 minutes. See to it that your hands are clean. Okay, I'm not going to use any gloves. But see to it when you have to mix the dough, you always have to use your fingers and your this part of your hand. Okay, we have now our flour, our salt, and the eggs. All you have to do is to mix them together. Okay, by just making a swirl. If you have a mixer, okay, you have to use the hook to mix this. Okay, but now I'm just using my hands to mix it. We have a dough mixer actually, but because most of you do not have a mixer, so I'm just teaching you how to do it with your hands. Okay, just mix it, and I am now placing our mixture of our yeast, our water, our milk actually. In some recipes, actually, it's water. But here, for our pandesal, I used milk. This is just simply evaporated milk. Okay. So, you have just simply to mix it all together. Okay. There you are. Okay. So, you can see now our dough. After mixing it very well, you have to knead this at least 10 minutes or 15 minutes using this part of your hand and your fingers. Why? Because your palm is warm. So avoid using your palm. Okay. Simply 10 minutes. Just play with it and knead it. Okay. Again, what you need for bread is patience. Okay. If it's too wet, you can add all-purpose flour, a little of your purpose flour. But what we placed here a while ago was bread flour. Sometimes in our breads, what you have to consider is the temperature of the environment. Okay. If it's humid, sometimes it is so difficult for this to rise. But if you're in the province and your surroundings in the province is warm, so it is faster for your yeast to rise, even your bread to rise. If it is too wet and you see that you have not reached yet a consistency when it is like a rubber, you just continue to add a little flour and continue to knead. Again, do not over knead, okay? Because we have a term called overproofing, over kneading. So we are trying to avoid that too. Okay, so if you have reached a thin texture like this, then we are ready to let this rise at least for 60 minutes or 1 hour until the size of our dough is going to double. So we will place this in a container. Okay, I am now placing oil in our container just cover this with a little oil so it'll be easier for our dough to rise. Okay, now we will place our dough and wait for it for 60 minutes to double its size. We will now cover this with a piece of cloth, or maybe you can cover this with plastic. Okay, 60 minutes. We are going to cook our breadcrumbs. But if in your provinces you don't have a breadcrumbs, you simply get an old or not too old bread. At least it's still dry a little. You can bake this and then after baking it, you can now maybe use a rolling pin like what I'm holding now. If there is no breadcrumbs for your pandesal or your ube pandesal, you can simply buy skyflakes and you simply have to roll it with your rolling pin until you have a consistency that is like similar to a powder, and you will have to bake this at least 5 minutes baking. This will be our breadcrumbs. This is our pandesal. So we simply have to place flour and we will now, you can see now our dough. So you simply have to prick your dough and when it comes back, you have a good dough. Okay, so this is after 60 minutes or 1 hour. So we have our dough, beautiful dough, our pandesal. You can see now our pandesal. See that it has a clean texture. Okay, after rising, just few minutes more and we will now divide this dough, make it into a ball and divide it into 8. I have divided my dough into 8 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But you can also use a weighing scale so that it will really be accurate. More or less, our dough is going to be 3 grams. So if you are going to make your pandesal, see to it that the sizes will be the same. Especially for most bakeries, they actually measure it by grams. If this is 2.4, so you have to add a little, okay? So if you're going to sell this, see to it that you have even sizes or weights. So this is going to be 3 grams for all. Again, because this one's going to expand yet for 20 minutes, we can divide our dough and make it 1.5. Okay, 1.5, 1.6. So there you are, that's 1.5 grams. You simply have to do this with your dough. And there you are. Before we roll this in our breadcrumbs, this is already our toasted sky flakes. You can also buy breadcrumbs if you have, or maybe you can just simply get a piece of loaf, toast it, and then make it into crumbs. Place this a little, just dip it in water, place it in your breadcrumbs so that your breadcrumbs is going to stick on your dough. And we will have to do this again with the other dough. This is water. Roll it on your breadcrumbs until we have all our dough coated. We'll have to let this rest again for 20 to 25 minutes. Placing it in your pan, see to it that they have spaces, because this will still expand after 20 minutes. Again, when you will bake it, it will still double its size. For those who do not have any oven, actually you can do this in a pan. Place it in a pan, low fire. Okay, you have to preheat it a while. Place it in a pan and then you cover it. After 15 minutes, you will still have the same. Okay, so it can be in an oven or not in an oven. But this, we are going to let it rest again at least 20 to 25 minutes. I am now placing the pandesal in the oven. This has been preheated. The temperature is 200 degrees Celsius or 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Again, this is Celsius, so it's only 200. The heat is up and down, and this is going to be cooked for at least 15 minutes only. Our pandesal is done, so you can see it is so good. Wait, sorry. This has been cooked for 15 minutes. So here we are. Our pandesal should look like this. It is really soft, not hard, but crunchy outside. This is our pandesal. It's really hot and delicious.